Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver. Welcome to This Week in Metals. Welcome back, Peter Thomas. What do you know?
I know it's a beautiful day in Chicago. We actually have some sunshine. I don't want to speak too loudly; it might disappear. All 6 days of pleasant weather we get here a year. But here's the key opening for our show. I mean, it's taper versus inflation. Bottom line is,
Mm.
it was a battle today, and all the guys that got short silver, when it took out quote support and then turned around and jammed it. I mean, who wants to go short metals over a weekend? Not me. And everyone looked at the jobs number and started buying metals. So what were the job numbers, Pete?
Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment, not nearly
Right.
as bad as the April disappointment, but non-farm payrolls came in at 559,000. The market was looking for 675,000,
Right.
but that's versus a modestly upward revised 278,000 in April.
Okay.
So again, a miss. Unemployment dropped more than expected. It dropped to 5.8% from 6.1% in April. So that was a pretty big uh, significant change. Let's call it a
Yeah.
significant change. Um, but yeah, it's the data continued to be a little bit disappointing
Right.
in light of everybody's hopes and expectations about recovery and the light at the end of the tunnel with respect to COVID and so forth. Um, so yeah, so inflation seems to be the big story, and as you mentioned, every time there's some decent data comes out, then people start talking about tapering again,
Sure.
possibly soon as this summer. Um,
Well, I mean, they start cutting off the checks and people start getting off the sofas. So,
here's
uh,
my determinant of
okay.
taper,
Yeah.
and it's a compelling one, I think.
Okay.
President Biden announced his $6 trillion budget.
Yeah, I know.
How are we going to? Where is that 6 trillion going to come from?
You and me, he's going to
It's
tax
going
the
to
hell
come
out of us.
from
How else?
borrowing and spending,
Yeah.
and the only way to keep interest rates in check is for the Fed to continue to buy assets. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
am not convinced that tapering is going to happen anytime soon, because the only way to finance a budget like that
Is to stay at zero, baby.
is to keep rates at or near at the zero
Yep.
bound,
Yep.
and test whether modern monetary theory is a real thing or not. We're gonna find out,
And
because
any price rally you get in interest rates, people will be buying paper off the street like bandits. So
yeah,
anytime there's a rally, they're just scooping them up. So demand is monstrous on rallies. So it's going to be hard to see gold really get beat up here against yield because there's really no yield.
yeah, right. And again, I think the inflation story is pretty compelling driver for
Right.
gold as well, because
And
of course
and
it's the
demand
classic
is
hedge.
Demand is solid. Look at we have the largest chip shortage in history. They're actually cutting back on manufacturing cars because they don't have chips. Motherboards are washed in gold, platinum, palladium, rhodium, and we don't have them. And we're cutting back on permits in America to mine them, which is an interesting concept when you have a shortage to increase it. So, bottom line is that second quarter is not going to be as strong as third quarter because third quarter demand is going to be huge, I think, and it's going to be all coming from the industrial side.
Yeah, and so that, if nothing else, I think that bodes well for the white metals.
Yeah.
But let's stick with gold for just a
Oh,
second.
absolutely.
When
Yeah.
when all was said and done, last week, gold ended down 0.6%,
Which is nothing.
um, which is nothing. I mean, it sold off on Thursday, nearly 2%.
Right.
Set,
Big break.
you
Big
know,
break.
in overseas trading on Friday, it lost about another percent, but bounced off the trend line pretty smartly.
I agree.
And closed pretty strong on Friday.
Well,
Worth mentioning
uh-huh.
also that gold was up nearly 8% in May. We took last week off. Um, so it's worth mentioning that the end of May was a pretty impressive month for
No,
gold.
no, no question. And bottom line is this: 1900 is the number, no matter what anyone says. If it closes above 1900 and stays there, 1950, 1960 is going to be the number. And I just think that it's real hard to be bearish while we're hanging on to these levels for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Somebody's buying it, you know?
So the last kind of significant resistance level, retracement level, anyways, ahead of the all-time high was at 1922 and
Okay,
change.
that's
We got as
exactly the
high as
number.
1916.57 last week on Tuesday. It was a 21-week high. So that, and then obviously it
Yeah,
did sell off subsequently, but again, closed pretty decent on Friday. So I
yeah,
think if we get, kind of above that 1916, 1922 level,
yeah.
I'm feeling pretty confident about a retest of the all-time highs, and I like $2,100, and
Nice.
it's worth mentioning that Incrementum's In Gold We Trust report came out last week as well.
Oh, how many
It's a great
pages, Pete?
uh, 360 something.
365 pages about
It
gold.
it is
Have fun with that.
comprehensive
I understand, but I'm
and
gonna.
good. It's wonderful analysis, and
Okay,
I've been following those guys for a very long time now, and they like $2,100 in gold as well.
all right,
Um, and their report is largely focused on the inflation aspect as well, or there's quite a bit of focus on the inflation aspect. Just want to read you a quote from the report.
okay,
Traditional mixed portfolios are subject to significantly higher risk in an inflationary environment. True, that's very true. If
as
you've
as
got
as we
stocks
say
and
on the
bonds,
street, as we say on the street, Pete, true dat, baby.
true that. And
Yeah,
so, the takeaway there, and this is a theme that as a gold analyst for I don't know 30 some years now, I inflation is the classic hedge. And when there is inflation risk, either getting that first allocation of gold or bolstering your existing allocation of gold uh, to to um, to hedge that risk is
sure,
really important. And we'd love to help you out with that. Having physical gold in your possession
absolutely.
is the way
Or
to do it.
qualified money. If you've got retirement funds and you're looking to put them, take them out of paper and put them into metal, we can help with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ZanerPreciousMetals.com is the place to
absolutely,
go to reach out and make contact with us, and we'd love to help you out in terms of um, moving towards balancing a portfolio and
absolutely.
diversifying appropriately.
Well, you know
Um,
what? Let's move into the shiny silver stuff.
yeah.
And
So
I got some interesting numbers here from another very good source that you just quoted yours. I've always liked Sprott. Sprott Money always has good research, and they're talking about demand right now at about 850 million ounces and 600 million ounces in commercial. So with recycling coming into this, we're going to be left with consumption wise about 300 million ounces, which is probably the lowest we've seen in a long time. So we're going to have a real hard time filling this void from commercial demand here because it's getting bigger and bigger. And I think with car manufacturing coming on board from the EV side, which uses a tremendous amount of metal, and solar coming into play again, I think that the silver apes are going to be making a lot of money soon.
right. When all is said and done, but it's worth again mentioning that silver was up 8.5% in May.
Right?
last week it closed down 0.4%. So kind of a similar trading pattern to gold in that it sold
Yeah,
off in sympathy on Thursday.
right.
But again, closed pretty decent
Had a
on
nice rally
on
today.
Friday.
Yeah.
Sure. Kind of violated a bullish channel line that is maybe a little bit troubling, but we had we got an email um, not last week, but the week before from the USMint
Yes,
that had a couple interesting
Director
quotes.
Ryder sent out something to correct a previous statement.
Right. Well, let's
Mhm.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the
Yeah,
original
absolutely.
quotes first.
Okay.
The email, it was reflecting on clients' website experience and the difficulties in getting particularly new issue stuff.
Right.
And the email said the global silver shortage has driven demand for many of our bullion and numismatic products to record heights. And then he went on to say, as the demand for silver remains greater than the supply, the reality is such that not everyone will be able to purchase a coin. So a couple of
Ah,
key things. I viewed that as when like the preeminent mint in the world is saying that there's a global silver shortage and that demand remains greater than supply. That is really telling. Now
and
you're right. There was a subsequent email this past week
yes.
where they sought to clarify those statements because it got a lot of play, in
Oh,
the
it did because it was the first time that there was an admission that they were running short of metal.
yeah.
And we are not opening new mines because of a current policy that just came into play. And I think that probably had a little something to do with this statement. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the statement was the silver shortage being experienced by the United States Mint pertains only to the supply of silver blanks among suppliers to the U.S. Mint.
Hmm.
So why do you think that the suppliers to the U.S. Mint don't have enough blanks?
Let's see. You take the silver, you pour it into a round, you
All
cut
right, all
it,
right.
and then you send the round to the mint. Now, if you don't have the silver to pour the round, there's a shortage. That's
Right.
what it must be.
And you know why there's a shortage? Because
Why? Why?
demand
Why?
is greater than the supply.
Oh, there you go. That's to all of
So
our viewers. The curtain has been pulled back.
U.S. Mint, nice try.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry about it. It's all okay. All right. Don't worry about a
Uh,
thing.
we just
Move
can't get
along,
blanks.
folks, as they're
You
rolling the yellow tape out, right?
We give you all the American Silver Eagles you want if we only had enough
If we only
blanks.
had them. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay. So
All right.
I'm inclined to pay a little bit more attention to those original two sentences than the clarification. That's just
Okay.
me. Um, Incrementum weighed in on silver too. They said that the silver rally is likely to continue for the rest of the decade. We could be moving into an
Wow.
inflationary, politician led era of universal basic income, modern monetary theory, and government guaranteed bank loan schemes. These trends will put upward pressure on the silver price. Couldn't have said it better myself. I love those guys.
Wow. I mean, that's stepping out there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I mean, we've got all kinds of reasons for it to go higher. I mean, we have tremendous demand from our commercial side for silver solder. And they're not manufacturing the volume of chips they were doing before. Also for colloidal washes, for extruded wire, for stamping coins. I mean, like I said, 300 million ounces will get gobbled up pretty quick before the end of this year, and we're going to be once again facing another deficit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I still think we're going to $30. And once we're above $30, that $50 all-time high area, 1980, 2011,
Yep.
looks pretty attractive. So
Yeah, been there, done that. That's
yeah,
a dance that I have danced, and I'll tell you
it
what, it's a lot of fun. So hopefully we will see that $30 get blown out in a contracyclical rally in the middle of the summer and catch everyone by surprise, while they're out there vacationing. And the guys that put on the shorts and remember sell in May and go away. Well,
Right.
it ain't so, Joe. It's
You
gonna
might take it in the shorts
yeah, you might.
this year.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
let's have
No,
a
no
little
pun
chat
intended.
about PGM, shall we?
Yeah. So platinum ended last week down 1.3%.
Okay.
It set a 10-week low at 1140. You know what the support level was that, in my opinion, had to hold?
40.
1140. 1140. That's the low
That's a
from
nice
March
chart, Joe.
5th.
And you know
Um,
what? You're technically, man, you do a great job. And if you guys aren't seeing Grant on Gold, which we put out midweek as a recap for what's going on in the metals, please dial it in because when you see these calls at the end of the week where he says, "Hey, I called this number," it's right there in print.
well, grantongold.com is where you can go to
There you go,
subscribe.
man.
I'd love to have you guys subscribe.
So we've
Um,
got so we've got demand from the mining supplies still slipping. Recycling price is going up. Try buying a cheap AutoCAD. It ain't happening. Our recyclers, hey guys, keep pulling them in, keep dealing in them. And if you're not hedging risk, we do handle all you guys at Zaner. And the Zaner Tornado platform is for our scrappers. And also, we're very bullish on the numbers that we're seeing coming out of the hydrogen supply, which is increasing in China. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing nothing but setbacks in production all over the globe on PGM. So we are slightly bullish here for the white metals.
yeah. Um, Palladium was up 0.7%. It was the second consecutive higher weekly close.
Okay.
Recent price activity there kind of looks like a bull flag to me. And so I remain
Interesting.
favorable.
Okay.
And again, I think the Biden budget is going to be a big driver for the white metals, as I mentioned when we spoke about
I concur.
silver.
Yeah.
It's $6 trillion, and it's very heavy on infrastructure and on
Solar.
green initiatives.
Green initiatives.
So
Absolutely.
that bodes well for silver, platinum, palladium, copper,
Absolutely
and a
right.
whole host of other
Yeah,
metals.
and they might even get into doing hydrogen here, which would be very, very interesting. And they launched the first cruise boat powered by natural gas too. So we're seeing a lot of diversification occurring on the green side now
Yeah.
in various things. Yeah.
So perhaps a bit of a downside risk. Months ago, back in February, we talked about the Nornickel mines in Russia being
Yes,
flooded.
absolutely. The
They're
flooding that
coming.
was occurring there.
Yeah, they're coming back online. The second one came back online. It's working at about 40% capacity right now, and it's those two mines apparently account for about 36% of Nornickel's total palladium output. So pretty significant. So with
Yeah.
that coming back online, again, not surprising perhaps to see a little bit of a correction, but it is, perhaps going to put a dent in the supply deficit, but it isn't going to relieve the supply deficit.
No, here's the problem. When a lot of the equipment at Nornickel, they built just for Nornickel, and just because of the size and the difficulty of the type of mining they're doing there. And it was submerged underwater for weeks. And a lot of the electrical systems there were destroyed. So for them to be up to 36% is pretty surprising in and of itself. But they still are reconstructing brand new equipment to take into the mines. So I'm kind of I'm still bullish. I don't think they're going to put a dent in that number, Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, kind of a similar trading pattern in copper. It was down
Ah,
5.2% last week.
yeah.
Again, kind of looks like a bull flag to me on the chart. Holding above 440. So
450,
overall,
dude.
yeah,
450 is the magic number. I mean, they close above 450. I mean, there isn't a scrapper out there that isn't dancing, right?
we've been talking to a couple scrappers that are kind
Sure.
of kind of happy about
Oh, they are. Yeah,
things. Yeah.
and their bankers are happy too. So everything's
To
been
the
going
point where
well. But
one of them ditched a call on us because they had a truck coming in.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. Yeah, he said, "I got a load coming in.
don't
Goodbye, guys."
don't blame them at all.
Not at all. But you know what? Here's the problem, Pete, that we need to address while we're on the air is China's trying to knock the prices down. And China controls 61 to 63% of all copper that's rolling through. And China announced that this was very interesting verbiage, all right? Because when their government says something, it's a little bit interesting for it. They said all speculators in China are now considered and or labeled malicious speculators and possibly have potential to go to re-education camps. And when you go to the re-education camps, your family, your kids, your grandparents all go for re-education. So there is a lot of pressure being put out on the firms that trade copper to bring the price down. And when you control such a large amount and you're doing your yuan manipulation through Singapore and driving their currency up against the dollar and the dollar's going down, so their buying power is even stronger. I think we're going to see copper come under offshore pressure, and it's going to be interesting to see if consumption for our green initiatives is going to offset the pressure coming out of China.
Yeah, might be. If you like this 450 to $5 range, you
Yeah.
might want to put a hedge on up here, huh?
Well, selling spikes has never been a bad idea, and especially when if you're just transporting loads or you're putting stuff in your yard in the scrap yard, and you've got 30 or 40 tons sitting around, you want to just put on a quick hedge for a day or two or three just to prevent from these 17, 18, 22-cent breaks that we've had. It's not a bad idea considering how inexpensive it is to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another thing we can help you out with.
Yeah.
Tornadobullion.com is the website for our hedging services.
Yep.
We'd be happy to provide information and answer any questions that you might have. Let's look at the week ahead, shall we?
Yeah, please do.
We've got it's a pretty light week. We got
Yeah, I
trade
thought
data
so.
out on Tuesday, wholesale sales on Wednesday, market expectations plus 2%,
That's
and then
low. They're wrong.
CPI on Thursday
Yeah.
plus 0.4% is the expectation there. So
Okay.
more inflation is
More
in our
inflation
future, it
coming, man.
seems.
Just look at it. It's real simple. They took food out of the equation for a reason, I guess it's the first thing to react. And, if you haven't been to the grocery store, put some blinders on because you're going to be in shock,
And the
and
gas station, my friend.
oh yeah, yeah. To get your food, and once you get your food, you're getting killed. And in many places, gasoline has doubled, food has tripled, beef has doubled. I mean, we're seeing a lot of inflation across the board. And it's just a matter of how far up it creeps.
I paid $11 for a flank steak the other day. Like what? And
Yeah,
then my son, as we're driving by, down the road nearby,
yeah.
says by the breakfast joint that we go to every
Ah,
once in a while,
yeah.
big painted, specials in the window. The
Nice.
$6.99 special is now $8.99 at the Breakfast Palace.
And the Breakfast Palace is also counting on you having a beverage because that isn't as much as it's the rate of inflation. They're just
That's
getting
a
you in the door.
28% increase in your
Yeah,
basic, two
yeah,
eggs, toast, hash
yep.
browns, and a meat breakfast, for crying out loud. So even my son is noticing.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So to wrap it up, we're still friendly. We this action this week was again, like we've been using the keyword violent, big breaks, big rallies, and we don't think they're going to change. I think we're going to see continued pressure from offshore, and anytime the light goes red, we're going to have heavy selling, and anytime there's support and it turns around, we're going to have a lot of buying. So look for continued volatility, and pay attention to what we're putting out there because our research is good.
Right. And we have newsletters that you can subscribe to. We have,
Yes, please do.
we're on all the social media channels. If you want something more timely on a daily basis, there's lots of information from both Pete and myself.
Yep,
And we're happy to answer and field questions directly from clients or interested parties. So
yep,
don't hesitate to reach out.
yeah. We'll
With
try to
that,
help
my
you as
friend.
best we
Oh, and
can.
we're not going to be around next week. We're going to take another week off.
Oh,
I'm going to
your
be traveling.
schedule, it must be
And I know you
nice.
can't run the machinery that makes this happen. So,
I know, are you kidding me? If they put me in front of a camera, they'd be terrified, you know?
yeah.
Did he tell the truth? Wait a minute. Whoa,
Uh,
up the brakes here, you know? It can't
yeah.
have that happen, so,
Well,
but,
everybody, make it a good week,
yep,
and next week make it a good week too, even if we're not around. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver.
Pete Thomas, enjoy your summer.